Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. This is part 2 of our Fans on the Clock draft. If you have not caught it yet, go catch part 1 with covering picks 1 to 16 of our mock draft for the 2024 NFL draft, helped by some wonderful friends, some new friends, people from across the UK and beyond, representing their teams and acting as GMs and making their first round picks. Myself, Byron, and Joe have been analysing them, and we'll continue to analyse them. And we're back with picks 17 to 32 to finish off the first round of the draft. First part went really well, I thought. I think we produced a pretty good episode. People seem to have liked it from what we've seen so far, so that's pretty good. And we're going to finish it off now. It's been a labour of love, and we're almost there. We've still got we've still got a team of 2 on the clock to get through, but we're almost there. And obviously, this is the finished article. So once again, shout out and thanks to everybody that's taken part and made this possible. Without 30 odd people helping us out, sending us pics and videos, wouldn't be possible. Gents, how did we feel about the first half? We started at pick 17. The Jaguars were on the clock. How are we feeling about how the first half of the draft went?
I think it's gone really well. Like, as a project, it's been really fun as well. Like, getting everyone's takes, seeing everyone's faces. It's been really well received. So, like, that's, and again, your idea, Paul. You put a lot of the work in here, so thank you very much. I think it's been a ton of fun. I do think like this year's draft is going to be like one of the better ones we've seen probably in my lifetime as an NFL fan, because top 10 I think could go anywhere. There's so many like blue chip or maybe just below blue chip talents that I don't know when you're going to run out of players that like you think are first round players. I don't think it's anytime soon. So yeah, I think it's really good that like we're not like, oh, they're going for who? This guy's going already? Like everybody's like, I'm not gonna say total household names, but like even to someone like me who's not deep into college football in the college football season, I do all my catch up post Super Bowl. All the players that I think are going to get taken in the 32, I'm going to feel somewhat familiar with, which isn't always the case. It always feels like you get to like 24 and you're like, oh, actually, I'm kind of running a bit low here. Like, take some running backs or wide receivers, please. I know who they are. Whereas this year, it does feel like such a strong class, especially at DB, tackle, wide receiver, quarterback early, obviously. Yeah, it just feels like a real loaded class. And yeah, it's getting closer for the actual draft. Can't wait.
Yeah, we're a week away just over a week away at the time of when this will get released.
Yeah.
Joe, what are you looking forward to in terms of kind of seeing where people go the second half of the draft? Because we're at that midway point now.
Yeah, it feels like what everyone's expecting, a lot of offensive weapons and players coming off the draft, coming off the board fairly early in the draft. So it's curious to see where like Byron said, like the blue chip defenders, where they'll go. I think some teams will pick up some really good defensive talent, which a couple of years, if it was a few years back, they would have gone in the top 10. So I still think there's top 10 talent in terms of defensive. So I'll be curious where teams will go. And then when the second run of wide receivers will go, I think like the top ones have gone. And there's always that, it feels like the 20 mark is when the other wide receivers go, and it's figuring out who's going to get the Justin Jeffersons versus the Jalen Reagor, that kind of a decision. And we can have a look how will people pick, because I think that was a big surprise for everyone when it happened. So we'll see if we get something similar this year.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you're tuning in and haven't seen part 1, go check that out. It's over on Spotify or YouTube, whichever your preference. If you are watching now or listening now, I say watching because we've got the pick so far running across the bottom of the screen on YouTube. No such help on Spotify, I'm afraid, for that. But I suppose a bit of a summary. We've had 13, in the first 16 picks, we've had 13 offensive players versus three defensive players so far. 4 quarterbacks taken, 4 wide receivers, 2 tackles, 2 edge rushers, and a corner is where we're at so far. Time to get another team on the clock.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. So the Jacksonville Jaguars are at number 7, pick 17, and we've got the guys from Jags across the pond at Jaguars GB. You can go follow them on Twitter. So yeah, all things based all things account for all things Jacksonville Jaguars here in the UK. We had Robson on one of our shows for one of the 2 London game previews. He was on to give us his view on the Jaguars at that point, and Robson's going to be making the pick. So here is Robson with pick 17 for the Jags.
What's up, guys? Robson here, one half of the Jags Across the Pond official podcast. You can come and find me on X at JaguarsGB, or find my colleague Jamie on Facebook with the Blighty Jags Facebook group. A disappointing year for the franchise last year, especially not making the playoffs. With the team that we've got, we feel that we are playoff contenders especially, but with our division getting a lot stronger, we need to shore up a lot of things this year. The free agency started really, really well, and now we're looking to the draft. With the 17th pick of this year's NFL draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson, someone that comes in with a lot of athletic ability, someone that we look to pair up with Tyson Campbell, and especially having to go up against someone like Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, and Michael Pittman Jr. On a regular basis this season is going to be massive. Someone that comes along in with a lot of ball skills, very fast, very athletic, great hips, and can be easily left in man coverage if needed, which the Jags have struggled with previously before. Something that we've needed to iron out, and especially with the DC that we've got coming in as well, who's really, really exciting, especially with the D-line. He can complement that also being in the secondary, and hopefully we can get a shutdown corner this year in the NFL draft and see us back into the playoffs.
Pick 17 from the Jaguars is Nate Wiggins, cornerback out of Clemson. Thanks, Robson, for the pick there. At Jaguars GB for Jags Across the Pond. Go give them a follow. The Jaguars take a corner. There's been plenty of moves in the AFC South that have loaded up at the wide receiver position for the other teams. So does it feel that, strengthening that secondary is the right move or a sensible call for the Jaguars in the first round?
Yeah, I think it's pretty crucial. I can't wait to watch Tank Dell versus Nate Wiggins, though. Both weigh about 100 pounds. Both running like 4.25. So that should be fun. Both blow away in the wind. So, get them in the dome and it should be great to watch. And yeah, I think it's just such a position need for the Jags. It feels like it has been for a while, the secondary. I don't think it's been good. Maybe since we went to the AFC title game, I might be misremembering that a little, but it feels like it's always been a position of need. Obviously, losing Calvin Ridley might have seen them reach on a wide receiver, I felt like, but I think this is a sensible position. I dare say I would have went with a different cornerback. I'm kind of surprised Terry and Arnold's still on the board at this point. There's a lot of people's cornerback 1. I think I'd have him up there as well myself with Kuhn and Mitchell. But yeah, I didn't really think Nate Wiggins was going to go off the board before him.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and obviously it just depends. Depends how you view them. Yeah. I think obviously we saw Quinn and Mitchell go to the Raiders at 13 in our draft here, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't think there's too much between the next few, but yeah, I mean, maybe surprised that Cooper DeJean as well maybe didn't go, but yeah, I think Nate Wiggins is fine. I don't think there's too much difference with them. You talked about there some of the matchups, which I think will be real interesting in the AFC South. Is lightning speed, blazing speed that you mentioned, and yeah, I think despite him maybe potentially being a bit skinnier and a bit undersized, I think he does play pretty physically. So. Yeah, he can.
I think that's becoming less important as well, same as it is for the wide receivers. Like, if you're fast, you can play, you can learn. The game isn't as physical as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think he can influence on the line, though, and disrupts releases and things like that. So, yeah, I think it's a decent pickup and one of need. Joe, your thoughts on Nate Wiggins?
Yeah, I think it's of a need for the Jags. I think last year, even though the defense started off well, it certainly dropped off near the end. So, they've made some big moves getting Armstead in from the 49ers, obviously re-signing Josh Allen and now stocking up on that defense. I think they're in a weird position in the draft where they have to go. I think they have to go defense with the talent what's there. I think they wouldn't have minded if it was a couple of spots later to pick up a wide receiver, because I think they're still missing on that. Yeah, I think they're still missing a wide receiver, but I think you'll be reaching to get it now. So you've got to go DB. And yeah, I was similar as Byron. I was surprised with this pick just because, well, I think like you said, there's not too much difference. But when you look at certain rankings and where he sits, he is lower than Terry and Arnold. So I thought they might have gone there, but like you said, he ran well and he certainly got some speed to burn and to keep up. So yeah, I think it's a good pick. You just worry. I know you said, it is a big step up, and being slight, can that affect it and how the Jags play? But yeah, I think, good pick.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks, Robson, for the pick. Shall we move on? Number 18, pick number 18, we have got the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock. And we've got a Cincinnati Bengals fan helping us out. Dan Ralph, Doc has put us in touch with him. He's a big supporter of Cincinnati Bengals, and he's going to be making the pick. So let's see who Dan takes for the Bengals.
With the 18th pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Talisa Fuaga, offensive tackle, Oregon State. Keeping Joe Burrow upright is priority number one, as always, and Fuaga allowed 0 sacks throughout his entire college career. He's a 6'6", 324-pound beast, incredibly fluid mover, but very heavy hands and an absolute mauler in the run game. His play translates very well to guard, so we might be covering and be competitive at guard already in his rookie season, but the long-term goal is for him to replace Trent Brown at right tackle. Talisa Fuaga, welcome to Cincinnati Bengals.
The pick for the Bengals at 18 is offensive tackle from Oregon State, Talisa Fuaga. Nailed it first time. Excellent.
Beautiful.
Fuaga, again, pick for the Bengals. We've seen, I suppose, Joe Burrow have these injuries in the past, and it's not necessarily always been down to, it's not necessarily been down to all line play. But again, this one feel like it makes sense because of the issues that the Bengals have had and the departures, and this just feel like their number one biggest need.
Yeah, I think it probably is, truthfully. I think it's certainly there or thereabouts. And I mean, to be fair to the Bengals, I think they have made, every year they've made moves to try and address it. They got Orlando Brown in last year. They have added Trent Brown this year as well. They added Lyle Collins last year.
With Lyle Collins, didn't they? Yeah, this never seemed to work out. And injuries, I suppose, have been a big problem at the O-line position for them. Yeah,
and, like we said with the Bears pick at 9 with Dockers, you can never really have too many good O-linemen. And Fuaga he's a big lad. He moves well. His relative athletic score, I did have it up actually, is 39th out of 1,300 tackles from 1987 to 2024. So he's a high-end mover for, he's a big lad at 320, but his vertical is, 90th percentile, 95th percentile. He's an explosive athlete. Arm length is a little bit of a concern, I feel, with him, and that's why he's falling to where he is. I think he's probably on paper, probably a top 10 positional player, a top 12 player maybe. I think it's just a real solid, maybe not a home run pick, but you hit doubles in the draft and you just keep tracking along. And I think the Bengals are in that kind of position. They don't need to take wild swings. Just a real solid tackle, I think, just makes perfect sense for them.
Yeah. Joe, thoughts on Fuaga for Cincinnati?
Yeah, I think it's a good pick. Like Byron said, offensive lineman, and if you get one, you're sorted for the next 10 to 12 years. Obviously lost Jonah Williams, but replaced him with Trent Brown. And you never know what you're going to get with Trent Brown. You feel like you get a good year and a bad year. So I think he didn't have a great year last year, so he might actually the good year. But no, I think it's a good pick. I was surprised he's still on there because I've seen a few rankings where he's actually ranked the number one offensive tackle. Some places number 2. So I thought he may have gone earlier with the team. So I think it's good for the Bengals. Do I think the Bengals will go for it? Is this the kind of Bengals team where, they passed on Penei Sewell to get, I know they got Chase, but, when you look at that wide receiver room now, the lost Boyd, who knows what's happening with Higgins, if he's actually going to stay or or they're going to be able to get him a new contract or they looked at him. So could this be a chance for Bengals to try and load up on that wide receiver room right there? I think similar to the Jags, it feels a bit too early for the next wide receiver, but this is where, obviously I know we're not doing trades or anything, but that's the kind of team, them and the Jags, where they might be wanting to trade back that kind of thing. But I think at that position where they are now, you get the best defensive tackle. Trent Brown isn't, like I said, he's not going to be there for another 3 or 4 years, really playing a high position, same as Orlando Brown. So they just need to keep building that offensive line and keep Burrows on the field and make NFL fun, where we don't get to see Bengals backups playing.
Yeah, and I think I think that's key behind this. I suppose behind this move for the Bengals in our draft here. But yeah, for me, I had Fuaga as the second one behind Joe Alt. So I think if you've still got the second tackle on the board at 18. I think you can be pretty happy with that. I like him. I think he's he's a beast in short, and I think he's one of those, and especially like in the run game as well, where he's a set the tone kind of guy. I think, and maybe that old line needs that after a couple of kind of false starts at trying to fix it. So, yeah, I think a good solid pick for the Bengals there. Thanks, Dan. Big Bengals fan for the pick. We're on to pick number 19. 19, and that takes us to Los Angeles. Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, takes us to Los Angeles, and we've got John from Los Angeles Rams UK at LA Rams _UK on your socials, and he's going to be picking for the 2021 champs. So let's see who they take.
Hey guys, John from LA Rams UK here to present the Rams pick for the draft. You can catch us on all social media platforms at LA Rams _UK. You can catch us on YouTube at LA Rams UK, where we podcast throughout the season every week, usually every Thursday night. We're also on Spotify and other platforms as well. And we've got Discord. If you go into our Twitter page, you'll get our links to everything. Any LA Rams UK fans or the Irish fans out there, come and join the community. We're building up a small, happy, friendly community. So I'll welcome all Rams fans. In fact, we've got fans from America, South America, and I believe Africa. So it's a global community, so come and join it. But without further ado, as I said, I'm here to pick the Rams pick in the draft. So with the number 19 pick, the LA Rams pick cornerback Terrion Arnold, Alabama, baby. Catch you later, guys. Horns up. Whose house?
Thanks to John there, who got the pick in while he was at a Hell is for Heroes gig. So we appreciate the quick turnaround of the agency. And he selected with the 19th pick for the Rams, Terrion Arnold, cornerback out of Alabama. So Byron, a couple of picks ago, you were surprised maybe the Jags didn't take Terrion Arnold if they're going to take a corner. The Rams do take him. What are we expecting to see out of Terrion Arnold, or what are the Rams going to get out of Terrion Arnold?
I think the first thing we're going to see is Les Snead running to the podium. And I think at this point, he's probably thinking, if we can get Terrion Arnold here, we can climb mountains together. He'll be offering Terrion Arnold that neon handshake, and that'll be business on for the Rams and Terrion Arnold. That is 2 Hell is for Heroes punchers there to start the analysis off. I think it's just a great pick. Real position of need for the Rams. At this point, I think they are penciled in to start Tre'Davious White and his, ailing injuries, which is why he was a free agent. And I just think the Rams are in. Like I say, Snead is running to the podium here because I think you're getting a top 10, top 12 player, one of the top 2 or 3 defensive players on the board at 19. Like I say, it's a position of need for them. Offense is in a real good spot, so they don't need to reach on anything. And I think this is just one of those where the draft has fallen to you exactly as you would want it to. In that division, you've got Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, you've got Marvin Harrison, as we've played out here, DK Metcalf, JSN, Tyler Lockett. You need to slow that down. Cornerbacks are a priority, and I just think, it's as close to a no-brainer as we're going to have in this pick draft, I think, at 19.
Yeah. For me, I'm a big fan of Terrion Arnold, and I think they're probably with him at corner, he can do it all, I think, and I think that's probably where I think he's probably the most well-rounded corner. I don't think he's the best one. No, I don't think he's the best one, but he's certainly, I'd say he's probably in the top 2 of this draft. Yeah, maybe in the top 2. But I think that's where in this division, having somebody that versatile with all the different weapons the Niners have got, you mentioned the Seahawks, all that, actually you can plug him in different places and have different roles for him. And I think that's really, really key. And especially because kind of like the Rams have kind of moved away from at the secondary, it's in the secondary and corner in particular. I think that's going to be vital for them. I think maybe there's a little bit of him where he might in the NFL need to learn. He's probably going to learn the hard way around. He can get a bit jumpy sometimes, trying to cut routes and jump routes, and he's probably going to get found out and punished quickly. And I imagine he'll learn from that. What he was able to do in college, particularly last year, crazy amount of pass breakups, pass breakups. And also, I think it's one. I want to say it's 1 in 5, maybe 21 or 22% of targets he forces an incompletion. Yeah, so he likes to jump in, he likes to get physical, and try and kind of be that. I want to say slightly. It's not a comparison, but that Trevon Diggs kind of style of trying to jump routes. So yeah, you might have to learn in that division. Joe, another kind of another corner coming your way in the NFC West here in this draft. What do you think? Do you think it's decent value for the Rams? What do you think of the pick?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's going to be on defense. What happens? I think how they've managed to hit on certain draft picks the last few years. I think the offense is sorted, and obviously spending big on that offensive line in free agency. So I think it's definitely going to go defense. He's certainly ranked, like I said, 1 or 2 in most rankings. So I think it's definitely a great pick, to be honest. I think, like Byron said, they're running up. I think there's some concern that on the combine and his pro day, he ran the 14.4.5. So I know there's some people obviously it's not slow, obviously a lot faster than those guys, but compared to when you against certain players like Debo, Ayuk, who's got that speed, would that be a disadvantage? But the combine and straight speed is not everything, and I know he's been put on tape where he looks faster on tape than actually what his numbers are saying. So I think it's a great pick. I was curious if they would go cornerback or defensive tackle. Obviously, with Aaron Donald retiring, if they would get because the number 1 D tackle is still available. So I was curious which way they would go. But yeah, I think they go cornerback with White being there, and also I think it's Darius Williams, who's just joined them this summer as well, who was a former Rams. But it's not like he blew the world away at the Jags being the 2 starting corners. So they've definitely got to improve that depth. And yeah, I think it's a great pick. I think you'd be super happy picking this low down to get one of the blue chips and one of the top 2 cornerbacks.
Cool. The eagle-eyed viewers, if you're watching on YouTube, would have noticed I had the wrong banner on the bottom of the screen there. We had our sports rules draft picks going along the bottom there. Joe and Byron didn't notice clearly, but if you haven't seen that, go check that out. That was a great episode as well a couple of weeks ago. Apologies, but we've got the picks on, and all of them have ran back through. So, in case you missed any, they're there. It's not been my finest work so far at the start of this episode.
Just guys. Easter eggs.
Yeah. See if you're paying attention as viewers. Thanks, John. I go give the LA Rams UK at LA Rams _UK a follow on the socials. We're to 20. Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock. And we've got the guys from the UK Steelers podcast making a pick for us at UK Steelers Pod. They've been and are continuing to release episodes throughout the off-season. They're doing a lot of draft stuff as well, not just focused on the Steelers, but just the draft in general. So yeah, go check them out. Great group of guys. Jesus, I can't speak. Let's see who they take.
Nate's doing a shot between each pick, I think.
I think so, yeah. This is what happens when we record the podcast after I play football. I'm just dead. So let's see who the Steelers take at 20.
Representing the UK Steelers podcast is the guy that's on holiday, not the other 6 guys that do the show. I don't know why it's fallen on me. But with that being said, the Steelers aren't going to make the same mistake they made in 2021 by passing twice on Creed Humphrey. So, with the 20th overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jackson Powers-Johnson out of Oregon. Dude's an absolute beast. The Steelers have got a history of fantastic centres. You go back to Mike Webster in the 80s, Darmonte Dawson in the 90s, and Marquise Pouncey in the 2010s. He's a people mover, he's plug and play, he's ready to go. He'll make sure that there's running lanes for Nigel Harris and Jalen Warren. My cameraman's fallen over. And also Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. They'll love a centre like this. He's smart, he's tough. Let's go. Here we go, Steelers.
With pick 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers take Jackson Powers-Johnson, interior offensive line / centre from Oregon. Thanks to the UK Steelers podcast for that pick. If you're watching on YouTube, you got to see the lovely holiday complex that we didn't get the individual's name, but one of the guys is currently enjoying a holiday. Looks lovely. Strolling around with a beer there by the pool. Yeah, it looks amazing. So thanks very much for taking some time out of your holiday to make the pick for us and produce that great video. And also, I think, a great pick, Jackson Powers-Johnson. Centre from Oregon. What do we make to the pick from the Steelers? It feels just a very Pittsburgh Steelers pick.
Yeah, I kind of hate being so overwhelmingly positive. I really like poking holes when I can, but it's been tough. Like, I tried poking at Nate Wiggins a wee bit, but the last few picks, including this one, I think are just really, really, really good picks. I think they're just smart, sensible picks. The Steelers need a centre. He's either centre 1 or 2 in the draft, depending on who you ask, but he's certainly, very solid. Positional flexibility. He'll play anywhere inside that O-line. And in fact, in the 2021 Alamo Bowl, his first year, he started at left guard, right guard, and actually in the Alamo Bowl, he started at DT. His second year, he started as right guard. Third year, he started at center. So, yeah, I mean, if things get desperate on the defensive end, maybe he's going to swap over. Who knows? But yeah, I just think it's a real solid pick. I think they're going to run the ball a lot with Arthur Smith obviously coming into town, as you'll see. And yeah, center's been a position need for them. So I just think it's just like maybe not a home run, but just a real good double hit where you just make a real solid pick, keep on moving for the Steelers. I don't think, they're in a position to start gambling on wide receivers too early, like we've mentioned for a couple of the teams already. Very solid pick.
Yeah, Joe, thoughts on Jackson Powers-Johnson? Great name as well, just a great name.
Yeah,
it's a great name. Yeah, no, I think he suits the Steelers really well. I think he's got that bulldog attitude. He's going to be in the AFC North, and it's going to be, pound and ground. And when you've got 2 quarterbacks who you've just brought in who love to hold onto the ball, you need an offensive line which can keep up. And yeah, the Steelers haven't had that for a while. Obviously, the center last year has left. I think they released him, so that's how much they thought of him. I think it's a great pick. I think it's a toss-up between this pick and they could have also gone for, is it Barton?
Graham Barton.
Yeah, Barton, yeah. So obviously he's had less time at centre, only playing 5 games. So do you go with the one with the bigger upside, or the one who's played centre a lot more and is more well-rounded and you know what you're going to get? So I think it's a great pick. Again, it's another team when you look at their wide receiver room. I keep banging on about this, but when your second best wide receiver is Van Jefferson, it's not looking quite good when you have Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin are your 2 and 3. It's you can't really go into a season like that. It's not looking great when you've literally got George Pickens. So I think there'll be a candidate to go for wide receivers, but just fix that offensive line. It's the AFC North. Yeah, do what you have to do. But yeah, that's an option as well.
I love it. I think, for me, I think he's the best. We're talking about centers. I think he's the best center. I don't know if you'd say he's the best interior or lineman over full stop, but because he has the versatility and the experience of playing center and guard, I think that's really, really valuable. And also, again, gives you options if you're the Steelers, which I think they need on that offensive line. This guy's mean. He's just mean, nasty. I know you might say that somebody as well, like from physical appearances, people use that phrase about like these people like barrel chested or whatever. This guy just looks like a barrel. Like he does, and he's going to move people. He's going to move people on the interior of the defensive line. I think he's going to be really, really good. Might be some other things that you'd like if he was a bit longer, taller, a bit longer that you'd like. But I think he more than makes up for that. With what he does in the run game and the pass game. So yeah, real excited to see what he does. I think he's going to be a real fun watch. Jackson Powers-Johnson for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You hear that very often about maybe interior offensive linemen or centers, but yeah, I think this guy could be a real fun person to watch.
Yeah, I've really been. He's one I'm like kind of wish casting falls a little further and ends up in Dallas, but yeah, I think he'd be a real good fit there too. Just
yeah,
probably isn't going to fall.
No, I don't think so. Certainly seems to be on an upward trajectory on the board, and he's now gone. So again, yeah, thanks to UK Steelers guys. Go give them a follow at UK Steelers Pod. It's a great listen. 21. Let's take a trip to Miami. Almost broke into Will Smith then. Let's take a trip to Miami, and we've got a returning guest making a pick for us, Andy Davis, doing some great stuff at the minute across a variety of different podcasts. He's writing for The Touchdown. He covers the NFL, but Premier League football as well. He's here, there, and everywhere at the minute, Andy. So go give him a follow at Andy Davis Sport. And he's a big Miami Dolphins fan, of course, so that's why he's picking for Miami. Let's see who he takes at 21.
Hi everyone, Andy Davis here, the Across the Pod NFL podcast host, and I'm here to give my selection for the Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover mock draft. As a Dolphins fan, I've been given the luxury of picking their selection at 21. Now for me, offensive line is never a sexy pick, but sometimes it's needed. That's why I'm going for Duke's Graham Barton at pick number 21 for the Miami Dolphins. Why have I gone for him? Simple fact is, offensive line is Miami's biggest need. We saw last season how banged up this team is, or this team was in the season, and we saw not only a few players going down, we saw multiple players go down. And I think one thing Graham Barton offers, from what I've read on a lot of scouting reports, is that he can play multiple positions on the line. Mainly a tackle, but he has also at times gone in the interior or centre part of the defensive line. So I think he'd be great. Obviously, there's some players that we love that were gone. In fact, the previous pick was something I would have gone for if he was still available. But I think Barton's the next best option on the board. I really do. I think that he offers a lot of flexibility, especially when the best tackle on the team is always injured in Terron Armstead. And I think he would be a perfect selection for the Miami Dolphins at pick number 21.
Thanks to Andy for the pick there. At 21, Miami take Graham Barton, and there could be some discussion on where he actually plays and where he can play, but offensive tackle or just O-lineman in general, which is, I suppose, one of the upsides that we'll get into. What do we make about Miami looking to build the trenches?
Once again, I think just an absolute home run. Barton, I think he's going to probably play centre or guard at the NFL level, it seems like. A lot of people projecting him there. Started 3 years as a left tackle and centre before that in college. Just feels like he's going to be super dependable, very flexible. And I know you can't always project injuries, certainly, but I feel like every single lineman on the Dolphins got injured twice last year at least. So I think being able to slot him in anywhere and everywhere is going to be super helpful. So yeah, another one that I was like, it's not too much further to fall to Dallas. And again, I'd love him to fall to there because I just think, again, it's that positional versatility, so solid. I think there's a lot of people number one inside or lineman in this draft. I just think it's a real good pick. And just on his positional versatility, but also his athletic numbers are unbelievable. Again, the relative athletic scoring, Math Bomb site, they have him ranked as a guard from the combine, which must have been how he was ranked at the combine. Out of 1,500 guards from 87 to 2024, he is ranked third athletically. I mean, that is no small feat. And sorry to keep rambling on here. I know I'm going to split time more, but Josh Norris over at Underdog, he has a kind of a way to hack the NFL draft, was what he called it, into moneyball it. And essentially, if you're an O-lineman and you run a sub 4.47 10-yard shuttle or short shuttle time, you're almost certainly going to be a success at the NFL level. Graham Barton ran a 4.47. I mean, some of the names on that list, Jason Kelsey was a 6th round pick, and Jason Kelsey's in the Hall of Fame. David Questenberry was a 6th round pick, was a success. Charles Leno Jr., round 7 pick, success. It's just like and then all your first round picks, second round picks are all basically successes who ran that as well. Barton hits that metric. I just think this is one of the safer picks in the draft, but again, for the Dolphins, such a position of need that I just can't see an issue with it. I think it's really smart picking.
Yeah. What do you make of Graham Barton, Joe, for the Dolphins, and more importantly, what it does for the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah, I think again, like we keep saying, it's another great pick. It's another great fit. It's a team who lost a few players in free agency. Obviously, Connor Williams, I know he's still out there, but that's a starting centre gone. They also lost Robert Hunt as well to the Panthers, and they brought 1 or 2 in. They brought Aaron Brewer, but you're bringing him from the Titans, who were the worst offensive line in the league last year. So it's doesn't give you much confidence. You've got a quarterback who he doesn't need too much time. That's like a good thing, where especially if you got like a rookie offensive lineman, he should be able to fit in pretty well with things. But he's also, I know it wasn't last year, but previously he can be injury prone, and he's gone out a few times and got injuries. So yeah, so I think it's a good pick. Could play across that line, like we said, they got so many injuries last year, and yeah, I think athletically he's perfect and he's great in the run, and I think that helps what Miami wants to do. It's a Shanahan it is Shanahan system where it's run first. Really, everything comes from the run, and if you get that going, then then look out for the speedsters of the wide receiver. So yeah, great pick. It's one of the weird things where it's like the last few, it's been like not boring picks, but what people might say boring picks in terms of things, but it's what the teams need. And, the teams who are normally the best in the NFL have got a good offensive line and a good defensive line. And, they're the picks you've got to make, especially around this, where you are in the draft to, make your team better. So another good pick for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I agree. Good pick. I feel a sensible choice by Andy for the Dolphins. Yeah, like if somebody could just start making some trash picks that we can hammer.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
The Cowboys up soon.
Cowboys are up soon.
What I would have loved to have seen here, just for that, it wouldn't be a good pick for the Dolphins IRL. Give them Xavier Worthy. Get Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Xavier Worthy in one offense, please. And two, it's got to put up 7,000 yards.
Yeah, and most as well. That's a great, 4x4.
Oh my God, Devon Achane as well.
Oh,
yeah.
He's the league. I mean, I'm saying two is going to put up 7,000 yards. He'll play 1.5 games, but Mike White's going to put up 5,600 yards. Yeah, but yeah, this is a much better pick.
Yeah, I agree with the points about moving him inside as well. I think probably the weakness in his game, and you know what? I do watch a lot of college football, but Duke isn't. I watch more Duke basketball than I watch Duke football. They're a basketball school, but certainly they're an ever-improving football program. But yeah, I think his weakness is kind of the power rushes on the edge. Obviously, inside, still going to be a bit of a problem. But I think he's just better. He'll be better equipped to handle it inside. I think he just gets a bit. He's very isolated at times on the edge in the tackle position. So I think protect him a little bit. But also, I think he can excel on the interior of the line. Again, flexibility, key. Going to be important if you're playing for the Miami Dolphins.
Especially with Armstead as well, who's when he plays half the game. So it's great to have someone who can play on the line. Yeah,
great choice. I wanted to jump in when you mentioned some of the people there who had the 4.47s in the cone drill. Jason Kelce might be making a bit of a career move. So I was retired from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's in the podcasting game. Jumped in the WWE ring at the weekend at WrestleMania.
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah. Very odd to see Lane Johnson and Jason Kelce stood next to Rey Mysterio. That was.
How small did Rey Mysterio look?
Yeah, quite the visual. But we'll see.
I did for a moment there because the Eagles next on the clock, right? And he said he's in the podcasting game. I was thinking, well, he's not UK based, but have we got Jason Kelce on?
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, what a terrible tease that was. Yeah.
But no, he's just at WrestleMania and not quite as exciting as being on the Good Teams Win fans draft. Fans on the clock. But take what you can get, Jason.
Cool. And on that note, we've got the British and Irish Eagles helping us out, making the pick for the Philadelphia Eagles at 2022. Go give them a follow at British Eagles. Let's see who they take.
Hello from British and Irish Eagles HQ, where you can find the latest news and opinion on all things Philadelphia Eagles this side of the Atlantic. We have asked the fans from around the UK to make the pick at 22 overall, and we have the results. With the 22nd overall pick of the 2024 NFL Draft, Philadelphia Eagles select cornerback Cooper DeJean, Iowa. Cooper is a versatile playmaker in the defensive secondary, having played time in the outside corner, in the slot, and also at safety. The Eagles are desperate need to replenish the defensive secondary with an ageing roster at the moment with Darius Slay and James Bradbury. Cooper will be an excellent addition, providing the athleticism required at the position of great need. Cooper, welcome to Philadelphia.
With the number 22 pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa. What do we make to the Eagles then? They were getting shredded the back end of the year. That secondary fell apart. It was a mess. They take a cornerback in the first round to support that rebuild. Yeah, what do we make to Cooper DeJean to Philly?
Just another sensible pick, I think, really. DeJean obviously is, really highly rated. Top 5 corner in the draft. I know some people have him higher than that even. Not blazing speed, 4.43, but certainly not bad. He's not getting beat by many. Again, on the RAS, he's got 9.89, so he meets every criteria you want as an athlete. And it's just such a position of need again for the Eagles. Like you said, they were getting shredded so easily in the defensive backfield last year. The DBs just weren't up to anything. They still have Darius Slay and James Bradbury pending as starters. Need to upgrade there, certainly. And yeah, I think DeJean's just such an easy slot in an instant starter for them.
Cool. Big injury, of course, last year was the broken leg. He wrote, bit of an old school move, wrote to all 32 teams.
Yeah.
Saying obviously was back ready to go. So we'll see. Just a shout out there, you mentioned where people have him ranked. We talked about it's been plugged in the first part of the podcast of this series. Oh my god, I can't speak. Let's plug it in the second part. The guys over at the Touchdown have produced an absolutely incredible 2024 NFL Draft Guide. You can, even now, a week before the draft, still get your hands on it. It's £3. It is an absolute bargain. They've got over 180 prospects covered, real in-depth analysis, backgrounds, rankings, pros, cons.
Your only issue might be reading it all in time.
Yeah. Combined data,
so hefty.
Season stats. Yeah. Just incredible job those guys putting it together. It's 370 pages. It's £3. Price of a coffee. Go get it. Go to touchdown.co.uk and go.
And it sometimes feels like a little thing as well, but it's so well presented as well. It's great. It's not just dry text. It's colourful. It's easy to read. You can drop in and just read about the quarterbacks. For what is it, £3 or $4 or whatever it is over here. There won't be any better way to spend £3 and boost your draft knowledge so much.
Yeah, and the point is they have Cooper DeJean ranked as their first cornerback, and in this scenario, the Eagles have got him as the fourth one off the board in the first round. So the Eagles winning the draft again.
He didn't even go to Georgia.
Yeah, and he didn't even go to Georgia. Joe, what do you make of Cooper DeJean for Philadelphia?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm surprised it's not even a bigger player where everyone's raving about the Eagles somehow getting the best player, the number one best player on the draft board, falling to them. Yeah, it's a position of need. Like you said, they got shredded. The rest of the team looks set. I wonder if they were hoping for a few of them centers to drop a little bit with Jason Kelce retiring, if that's if this is more like their second choice rather than getting one of them centers to plug in and go from there. But no, I think it's a good pick. They need cornerbacks. Everyone needs cornerbacks. And again, it's one of them divisions where, all 3 teams, maybe not the Giants, but they might actually have a top end wide receiver, and some teams have got 2, so they definitely need as much cornerbacks as possible. So yeah, a great pick. I'm still curious if I'm still waiting for the Lions pick where they went for Jack Campbell linebacker, like one of them weird picks, and it feels like the Eagles is probably another big need is a linebacker. So I was wondering, but no, this is a smart move. This will good teams build. So good pick for the Eagles.
Yeah, we've not seen that yet in the way this draft's panned out, where we've not had a complete head scratcher yet.
Yeah.
Certainly, we might have gone, well, maybe we've taken another player of the same position. Maybe, there's not been too much difference. Hopefully, we need a couple of head scratches because we're just saying nice things about everyone. Of course, we want to say nice things about everyone because we appreciate everybody that's taken part. But some light ribbon,
a little needle in.
Yeah, exactly. Although I suppose I gave it out for JJ McCarthy, so that's just because I don't like JJ McCarthy. Cool, right? Philly done. 22. It's in the book. 23. Speaking of which, the Minnesota Vikings are back on the clock, and we have got Dave from the Up Punts podcast again. He will be making the pick at 23. So let's see who they take to add to JJ McCarthy, who they took at 11.
Hi, I'm David Keane of the Otter Punts here again to make yet another pick on account of the fact that for whatever reason the Vikings aren't allowed to trade up into the top 5. Probably won't happen in real life, to be fair. Okay, so with the first pick, I took JJ McCarthy. He's now throwing the ball to Justin Jefferson, so JJ to JJ connection going well, unless Justin gets traded in the meantime. And for my second pick, number 23 overall, I'm going to take Byron Murphy II out of Texas Longhorns. Gives us 2 Byron Murphys playing for the Vikings defense. Gives Brian Flores yet another toy to play with. Improves us on that side of the ball on account of the fact that at the moment we are lacking interior defensive tackle talent. So take one of the best in the draft. There's another guy who I might have taken, but I'm taking Byron Murphy because for the Vikings, it seems like the right fit. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks to Dave from the Up Punts pod. Go give those guys a follow across Instagram. Go watch their show on YouTube, Up Punts podcast. It's a great one. Vikings at 23. Select Byron Murphy II from Texas. First, I suppose, true interior defensive lineman. We've had plenty of edge guys go so far. I think 3. Yeah, and then we've got Byron Murphy going on the interior of the defensive line. Is this a pick to be excited about if the Vikings do make it at 23?
I'm not sure excited is the word, but I think it's a very solid pick. Like you say, from Texas, born and raised in Texas, but go up to Minnesota and this ain't Texas. So, yeah, I think it's a need for the Vikings. I think, truthfully, they're in a real good position here. Obviously, they traded up to get here, and in this scenario, they haven't had to move up to get JJ McCarthy. So they've got this as a kind of what feels like a bit of a freebie pick, really. And they've got a lot of. I'm not going to say they're like a woeful team in any way, but you could see them maybe go cornerback here. They could maybe start a second wide receiver run. They could, again, carry on loading up at the O-line like people have been doing. A real thinker, I think, for the Vikings, truthfully. But I think going Byron Murphy, I think, is just, again, just one of them where you're just hitting a double. Very, very solid DT. I think almost unanimously number 1 defensive tackle in the class. So, yeah, with how their defense... they were coached up well last year, but I think the talent isn't quite there. So I think this is just a real solid pick. You get your quarterback. You don't have to give up 23 in this scenario. And again, this kind of feels like a bonus pick where you just get the highest ceiling, safest floor defensive player and just plug him right in there, day 1 starter. Yeah, no doubt.
And they lost a lot on the defensive line,
yeah.
Vikings. So, yeah, it needs to start kind of restocking there. Joe, what do you see Byron Murphy bringing to the Vikings?
Yeah, I think he's obviously clearly the number 1 defensive tackle on the board. I think if the Vikings are this position, I think they're just going to choose the best defensive player. I think they're fairly set. I understand that the wide receiver, but, you've got Addison, you've got Justin Jefferson. How woeful that defense was at times, I think you got to go best player. And I think he might be the only defensive tackle which goes in the first round. So you grab who you can, and then it's either that or a cornerback, but then you could be kind of reaching if you're going for someone like Kool-Aid or anyone like that. So I think it's a great pick. Yeah, they're going to love him there. I think even though they lost a lot, it feels like they brought a lot in on the line as well. So I'm curious. I think that what Byron said is like, if they keep this pick, where will they actually go? Because they did lose Davenport and Daniil Hunter and Sheldon Day and a few of us, but they did bring in like Grenard, Van Ginkel, Tillery, and a few of us on the line. So it feels like they've invested in free agency, but I think he's number one on their board. So I think it's a need. But yeah, I don't think it's going to fix their problems at the same time. But I think it's one for the future rather than make the Vikings anything decent this year.
Yeah.
To be fair, like Brian Flores done such a good job last year coaching that defense. So again, I couldn't agree more that like it's not going to fix them, but great place to go and learn, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, it might be 2025 when that defense takes off. If they just I think it's going to be a defensive heavy draft for the Vikings once they've got JJ McCarthy in, or whoever their quarterback ends up being, if it's not JJ. But yeah, build that defense and let Brian Flores cook.
Yeah, promising things from the defense, but yeah, talent deprived. So yeah, I think this is a solid move. Big five. I like what I've seen out of Byron Murphy at Texas. So yeah, I think he'll be a real solid addition for the Vikings. I also love his pal that will get drafted. Probably won't get drafted here in our episode here, but will get drafted maybe at some point on day 2 because Devondre Sweat is a beast.
He's definitely getting his name taken.
Yeah.
By somebody. Bobby Law or GM.
Excellent. Vikings done their 2 first-round picks in the books. Motoring through this now. On to 2024. One of keen interest to us, Byron. Dallas Cowboys. And we've got the wonderful guys from UK Cowboys fans. So go follow their account at UK_Cowboys fans. They also have their own dedicated Cowboys podcast, which is a fantastic listen as well. They have plenty of great guests on it. I can see Joe's going to be really excited to go listen to that as soon as he finishes recording. But yeah, they do a really, really good job. They do put together trips across to Dallas every year. It's real dedicated. A lot of the guys are up in Scotland as well that run that. And just fellow wonderful Cowboys fans. So let's see who they take, and hopefully they won't break my heart.
With the 24th pick in the 2024 Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover mock draft, the Dallas Cowboys select JC Latham, offensive tackle out of Alabama. JC is a former 5-star recruit. Pedigree is off the charts. With this pick, the Dallas Cowboys are looking to put him at left tackle and pair him with Tyler Smith on that side to give them an almost impenetrable blindside for Dak Prescott. Tyron Smith's departure in the offseason was a blow, but the Dallas Cowboys need to get younger and better and more consistent on the offensive line, which is why we're taking JC at this position. We couldn't actually believe he was here. We consider him the second or third best offensive tackle in this class, so to get him at 24 is massive value. So it goes without saying we're going to take him. As we say, JC, 5-star recruit when he came into college. A lot of that is predicated on his natural ability, his high IQ. He's a very, very smart player. He's a guy who has a range of movements in his repertoire. His quickness and his feet are brilliant. It allows him to mirror and protect that blind side. His natural power, and if he gets his hands on you, it is absolutely done. The concerns with JC are his inside power run game is not great, but you're sending someone inside to Tyler Smith, so you're going to have both of those guys playing together and it's over. His bend is slightly concerning, but a lot of this is stuff that he is already working on or has been working on during his time in Alabama. It's getting there. It's going to be elite. We project that JC will be at least a Pro Bowl caliber and potentially all Pro caliber left tackle.
With pick 24, not 2024, the Dallas Cowboys select JC Latham, offensive tackle, Alabama. Thanks to the UK Cowboys fans for that pick. Go give them a follow at UK_Cowboys fans for all your Dallas Cowboys needs. JC Latham starting to revamp that O-line. It's been such a strength for so long for Dallas, and it's been gutted really. Tyron Smith gone, centre gone. Tyler Bidash went over to Washington, staying with the division. A big strength that's started to become a bit of a weakness for the Cowboys. Byron, might as well start with you. JC Latham for the Cowboys. What do you think?
Absolutely love it. I'd be running up to the podium with this one as well. Big lad, well set, right tackle locked up. I think it's an absolute perfect pick. I think he could go as high as 12, 15. Yeah, and Charlie's obviously very keen on it as well. He's a protector as well. He's very defensive. He does not want anyone in the house. He does not want any birds on the balconies. He does not want kids playing soccer outside his house. And JC Latham is a protector. He's huge. My one little concern is that he hasn't done any athletic testing this offseason. He's not injured. He just chose not to. I'm not too sure why that is, but maybe he's just real confident in his draft stock and he doesn't need to prove anything, which, fair enough. He showed everything on tape that you would want to see. So I don't really have any doubts. And if he's still here at 24, I think you just run to the podium and say, thank you very much.
Yeah. I think Latham right tackle, move Tyler Smith.
Yeah.
Left tackle. You've obviously got Zach Martin, and then you've got, I don't know what's going to go on with the right guard, and then you've got a centre problem as well. But I think Terrence Steele has been a problem for the Cowboys. So, JC Latham in that spot I like. He's also played a little bit of right guard, I think in his first year at Alabama. But, obviously right tackle rest of the way. I really, really like the pick. Joe, any thoughts on Latham for the Cowboys?
I'm surprised the Cowboys even picked it all, how their off-season's been. All in and just carry on what they're doing with, not doing too much. But no, I think it's good. Yeah, exactly. I think it's another good pick. It's one of them where in 6 or 7 years, we're like, oh, obviously the Cowboys took the offensive tackle and is projected to be, a future Hall of Famer. I think, like you said, it's a big need. I think it's a huge need with the losses I've had and injuries as well. So it's a good pick. But then when you look at the Cowboys depth chart, I think it's women in quite a lot of positions. So I think it's pick your poison. And I think JC Latham is probably one of the best. He's probably the best player still on the board there. And I think I would be surprised if he actually reaches that far. But if he is, you got to get that offensive tackle, get top 2 or 3, which I've seen in most rankings. So it makes sense. They make these smart decisions, especially on the offensive line.
Yeah, the touchdown guys have him as third tackle, and he's the 5th or 6th, depending on what you think about, and to go in this draft. Potentially good value. I'm really interested.
I was curious if Byron Murphy was still there. Would you have gone D tackle or the offensive line?
I'd have went O-line.
So O-line.
I'm just going to bulk Matty Smith up for the off season. He'll be fine. I think he can get more usable DTs in the second round. I think Latham, is kind of... There's maybe one more OT that I'd be okay, but I think there's a bit of a drop-off after this for me.
I think there's another couple, maybe.
But I don't think you get him on in the second round. There's one more, I think, for me, actually. Maybe Samar Taye, but Guyton, yeah, but I don't think any of those are making it to the second round. I mean, knows Byron Murphy, obviously, but I think, yeah, it's just so much more important getting that OT in place because necessary.
Yeah. I think they're both massively important and both areas that the Cowboys need to address without a shadow of a doubt because of kind of what's happened. I'll just get Xavier Worth here. What's happened with the Cowboys and the way they've kind of lost these playoff games the last couple of years, and just the way late in the season they've just been so easy to run all over. So yeah, I get that defensive line need as well. I don't know. I'm interested to see kind of. We've heard this all in phrase from Jerry, and I'm interested to see kind of the pick because I think it tells you where. I think it's going to tell you definitively where he is on Mike McCarthy as well. Whether he thinks there's any hope of him staying past the end of his contract and earning another one. By doing that, he'd have to probably get to the Super Bowl at the very least. Yeah, so whether he maybe does something a bit short-termy, I don't know. But yeah, I'm real interested to see. It's a huge draft for the Cowboys, who have drafted pretty well in the last 10, 15 years. Wasn't so good. Last year was great. From a Cowboys draft perspective, did we really get anybody who had any really major game time for the Cowboys last year out of that rookie class? Nazi Smith was barely on the field, and when he was useless. Hopefully he'll get better.
Yeah, not tomorrow.
No. Overshawn was obviously injured for the season, so he'll be like obviously somebody coming back as a linebacker, which would be very important for the Cowboys.
I dare say Hendershot maybe got the most game time, and that was kind of... it wasn't a standout, was it? And yeah, there is a part of me wonders, like, when you're saying it'll tell us a lot about how we're moving, like, couldn't you just see Jerry just going like Bo Nix? I could well see it. Like, F you, Dak, we ain't going to pay you. You don't want to play hard ball. Here's your replacement. This is your last year in Dallas. Because Jerry is petty and personal enough too, I think.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I don't know. He resisted the temptation to pull on who was the guy that the Broncos had. I can't remember what it was called.
Paxton
Lynch. He resisted that. He resisted Johnny Football.
Well, to be fair, he wanted Paxton Lynch. Paxton Lynch went in the year Dak got drafted.
Yeah,
that was it.
And he wanted Paxton Lynch. If the Broncos didn't get Paxton Lynch, we wouldn't have got Dak.
So I don't know. I hopefully holds his nerve and just works it out with Dak. But it's probably not going to happen, is it? Yeah.
Wouldn't like to bet. I like to bet on a lot of things, but yeah, Jerry Jones make rational decisions.
Yeah, and Shoemaker, sorry, not Hendershot, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because we didn't really see Fehoko, Eric Scott, I don't think we saw. Weidemeyer, I don't think made the team. Yeah. Wasn't a vintage Cowboys draft. Anyway, enough about that. That's the pick for the Cowboys. Let's move on. Spent a lot longer on that then. Pick 25, the team that not the Dallas Cowboys out of the playoffs, Green Bay Packers. 25, we've got Adam Martin from the franchise tag on. He was on our Week 18 episode, preview episode. So, yeah, guys at franchise tag do a great job. They produce great content. They're doing loads during draft season as well. Go check them out at franchise tag. Here's Adam with the Green Bay Packers pick at pick 25.
Hey everyone, Adam here from the franchise tag, and I've got pick number 25 for my Green Bay Packers, and I'm going to go for Jason Newton, defensive lineman out of Illinois. Now, the reason I'm going for Newton is pretty simple, really. We've got a very good young team. The offense is pretty set. It kind of felt like I'm either going to go O-line or D-line. They're kind of the typical Packers things to do and what we normally do. And what I think is thing. But the way that the board fell in this one, Newton seemed like an obvious choice. He's one of the best players in this year's draft. The fact that he's fallen this far is amazing to me, so I'm more than happy to take him. And one area that the Packers have always struggled is against the run. Having someone like Newton next to Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, that's going to be a great defensive line to have, and that will really help against the run. So that's why I'm going for Jason Newton. But come over to the franchise tag. We've got loads of stuff going on. We've got interviews with NFL Academy guys. We've got all of our draft content out at the moment. And look forward to talking to you all soon.
Thanks to Adam Martin from the Franchise Tag. Go give him a follow at Franchise Tag. The pick at 25, Jason or Johnny Newton, D-line from Illinois. Byron, you're in Illinois. Give us the lowdown on Johnny Newton.
Yeah, another Johnny in the area. Explosive D tackle. Gets upfield real quickly. Not the biggest D tackle that you would want ideally, but I think it's important to not use that as a rule out for D tackles in this day and age. Once Aaron Donald's been around, there's no point saying, well, if you're undersized, you're not going to make it because, people looked a bit silly when they done that a good few years ago. I'm not sure it's a Packers' biggest area of need, but I must say the Packers are in a real good spot because I don't think they have too many. I think they could maybe use safety, but I'm not sure there's one worth reaching for here. Wide receiver, they're loaded up. Quarterback, it'd be classic Green Bay to take one. You're in the mid-20s and you don't need one, so they could probably just take Bo Nix here and say, we're set for the next 25 years or whatever it might be. Well, I'm not sure Bo Nix is that much younger than Jordan Love, I must say. But yeah, I think it's a good pick. I don't think it's a great pick, but I don't really know if there is a great one there. I think maybe they could have gambled on the tackle, the physical guy, I'm trying to remember his name, Mims, to maybe try and train him up to slot in and replace Bakhtiari maybe, but I think that's a big gamble. I think this one is a much more solid pick. I think Johnny Newton to most people is a number 2 tackle, D tackle on the board. Like I said, not the biggest area need for the Packers, but, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. They can always add. It's never a problem to add more good D tackles who can get after the quarterback. So I just think just a good pick. I think Green Bay certainly have a type and they like explosive players. And just yet another one.
Yeah, a lot of high draft capital has gone into that defense the last couple of years for the Packers. And just keep topping it up, keep topping that talent up on the defensive side of the ball and let that offense grow. And I think the Packers are the makings of an incredible team. We saw that down the stretch in 2023. In 2024 could be a big year for them, but they're making all the right moves, and I think this one fits for them. Joe, what did you make then of Newton to the Packers, or would you have gone somewhere else if you were making the pick?
I was thinking tackle as well, just because you've lost Bakhtiari and you've lost a few other offensive linemen who might not be starters, but if there's one out there who you trust, like we keep saying, it's good stock of the defensive tackle when you've got a young quarterback, keep him on the field. I'm surprised with the Packers. They haven't gone for a defensive back with a funny name like Kool-Aid, like they do with Ha Clinton Dix. Is it like a continuous thing? Because it feels like the Packers always go DB. It feels like they've spent so much draft stock and they don't always hit. Like I know we mentioned that they've invested in that defense, but it's very rare it's actually hit every single time. Well, it's not hit most of the time. So obviously with a new defensive coordinator, is he going to be wanting players who fit his system or fit the way he wants to coach? So I'd be curious if they're looking for that kind of player, and could Johnny work in there, being undersized? And like you said, you can't really say with like Aaron Donald, but not everyone's Aaron Donald. So I think they've just got to take that into consideration as well, that you don't want to be, especially again in a cold environment in rugged NFC North when you've got the Lions and teams like that. But I still think it's a good choice. I think they're in a great position where they just take the best defensive player on the board. I think the offensive more or less, except the line probably, it's more or less set. So you just choose, the best defensive player, and if that's another defensive interior lineman, keep going, because you're only going to have to play teams who have got great offensive lines. So,
I think his ability to just generate pressure from the interior of that defensive line at Illinois I think he's going to be able to translate that to the NFL, and I think he's going to be one that's going to cause offensive lines a lot of problems. The rates, he doubled his sack total from 22 to 23. He's
double. That's only adding one.
What?
I was making a joke that 22 to 23 is just one, not double.
Very good. All right.
Maybe too late for you. I'm sorry. Or maybe it's just too shit of a joke.
Yeah, bit of both. I'll meet in the middle. Still do sack total from 4 to 8. There you go. And yeah, he's going to harass, I think, quite West interior. And interior, being able to generate pressure from the interior of the defensive line is so valuable in NFL. And I think that's why the Cowboys, fucking hell, why the Packers end up with a gem here at 25. 26, then we're on. Before we move on, Green Bay Packers announced, I think it was today or yesterday, but obviously this is going out next week. They're going to be taking on the Philadelphia Eagles in Sao Paulo on the Friday, so the day after the kickoff game. Yeah, good matchup, I think. That's a real good game for Brazil to get as the first one, Eagles-Packers.
Yeah, it's a brilliant matchup. Yeah, potential NFC Championship showdown.
Possibly.
Yeah. Obviously, the Brazilian NFL are a lot better than the British ones again. Actually, good games to go over there. So, who knows what how the Brazilian would get? But no, great game, fantastic way to kick off the season in Brazil. So, be a fun one to watch.
Joe, I personally can't wait to go watch the Jacksonville Jaguars twice. So yeah.
I was wondering, we have our good friends Robson and the gang across the pond Jags podcast. When the Jags move to Fulham, are they going to move over here to keep up the across the pond branding, or are they going to rebrand?
Fair point.
Across the Thames.
That's good.
Yeah.
Joe's going to be on branding for them, yeah.
Yeah, you want to charge him for that, Joe?
Or you want to copyright it earlier?
Yeah.
I'm too American now. Get litigious ASAP.
Right, 26.
Year.
Yeah, great. Yeah, should be a great game. I was like, it'd be great to go to Brazil. Not this year. Bucks 26. We've got Kieran from Bucks UK. So at Bucks UK over on Twitter and the socials. Go give them a follow for all things Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's see who Kieran takes at 26 for Tampa Bay.
Hi, this is Kieran from Bucks UK. The Bucks will definitely be looking to upgrade their secondary in this draft with a big hole to plug after trading Carlton Davis to the Lions. So, with the 26th pick of the 2024 draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers UK fan club, the UK's longest-running UK NFL fan club, selects Jaquincy Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback from Alabama. With big size, but also strong athletic ability, he stays with his receivers. He reads their eyes with uncanny consistency. There's not a ton of interceptions there, but he breaks up catches. He knocks the ball away. He pulls it out of their hands. He's a natural leader, good communication skills, high football IQ. He's going to be valued in any locker room. I think he's good in man coverage, but for the Bucks, he will boost what is traditionally a weaker zone coverage. So with Kool-Aid, the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles get themselves a year one starter at cornerback. Kool-Aid also did some kick and punt returning for Alabama. So with the new kickoff rules, we could see him on the field there too. Thank you very much to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover for asking us to make this pick. And go Bucks!
So Kieran from Bucks UK takes Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback from Alabama, with the 26th pick of the Fans on the Clock draft. Tampa Bay performed far beyond expectations last year. Tied down, I suppose, key pieces in free agency, in Baker, in Mike Evans. What do we make of cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
101 of names in the draft class, I think.
Yeah, if we were doing a draft of names in the 2024 draft class, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think you'd have to. I think one of these is kind of like good, not great. I think he's a solid cornerback. I think there's been maybe a drop-off at this point, though, in the cornerbacks, which, is to be expected. You're picking in the mid-20s now, so, it is what's there. I'd maybe look more at edge if I'm the Bucks, but they did lose Carlton Davis, got traded to the Lions in this offseason, so, again, it is a position of need. I think McKinstry is solid. Like I said, not spectacular maybe, other than his name, but I don't think he's one that's going to go far wrong. I think he's got the right build that you want. About 6 foot, solid defensive player. I don't think he's got that elite burst, but again, I think he's just going to be a solid cornerback. And with how much the Bucs like to blitz, I think he'll probably get opportunities to, get ball snatching. And yeah, I think, again, just a nice solid pick for the Bucs.
Yeah, again, I like, replacing that, Carlton Davis gone, getting somebody in. Yeah, see what we can do in a Todd Bowles defense, I guess. Joe, what do you make of the Bucs? McKinstry, is it somewhere you'd have gone, or again, would you have gone and dealt with another need?
I think the Bucs is one of them teams where I don't know what they need and what they want. They're such like a weird team where I think last year we all thought, oh, they're going to be diabolical. And obviously they end up getting the playoffs and winning a first round. And again, I think there's always a team who gets to the playoffs, goes far, and then suddenly has a bit of a disaster of a year. And it feels like they re-signed a lot of players. And they're just like an old team where they need to like restock everywhere. You do trust Bowles in terms of if he does get DB, that's where his speciality is, and you'll probably know where to pick the right one. And they're probably good defense because, again, Todd Bowles loves to draft defensive guys. But yeah, Buccaneers are a weird one this year where I haven't really got my finger on how they're gonna perform, what they actually need, because players drop off due to age, whenever, and the kind of team where you never know. Could there be an interesting team to maybe look for a wide receiver? I know they got Evans back and Chris Godwin, but is he the same Godwin as old? Try and get more weapons for Baker because you can't really rely on Baker to have another great season like he might have. But how his career's gone, he's had a good year, bad year, good year, bad year, and obviously it's time for the bad year once he signed his contract. So do you want to get more weapons? I think the offensive line is pretty decent, but there's a few out there. So, like I said, I think the good defense just because it's Todd Bowles. But I can't really put my finger on it. I just don't know about the Bucs. But they're just a weird team. Just when you look at their squad, you're like, oh, they're picking that, that low. It's like, okay, that doesn't really help whatsoever for the year to come. I don't think they're like one or two pieces away, like a lot of the teams around here. We're like, oh, if you get one or two, you get them in the right position, improve that bit, then now, hopefully it'll make them to get to the Super Bowl. I don't feel like the Bucs. I feel like they need quite a few players. So, yeah.
I do think that's an interesting shout at the wide receiver because I think we're right at that point of like, and what's his last 7 picks of the first round, 6, 7 picks. I wouldn't be surprised if 3 or 4 wide receivers come off like in a hurry and like
there's a run due. Yeah.
Could you imagine adding like, you got Evans, eats everything alive. Godwin, such a good slot receiver. You chuck in Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, Troy Franklin, even like take your pick of those vertical, take the top off of defense receivers, and I think you do add an extra element there. And I mean, Baker Mayfield, he's not afraid to sling it into areas where he maybe shouldn't.
McConkey feels like a good fit for the Bucs.
Yeah.
And you need a division again where I think Bucs defense is going to probably be good enough with what we've got now.
Yeah.
And you're not playing against like ridiculously great offenses elsewhere. So why do you not try and make yourself that team who can actually score points and put some points on the board? Because, there's plenty of NFC South games where it was just a bit of a drab and, nothing much was happening. So why didn't you get that threat and get them points on the board and, change the direction of the team?
Yeah. It's an interesting one. Just back on McKinstry, I think this is a good fit as well. So not only is it potentially a need with lots of Carlton Davis, but a good fit. Just on not many people go into Alabama, and especially defensively, as a true freshman start in a Nick Saban team and a Nick Saban defense because the complexities of all of it. So he's smart. He's a very smart kid, and I think again from going into Tampa and maybe the way Todd Bowles sets up. That's going to, transition and help, and he'll be able to pick up the concepts and actually be able to learn it and pick it up, and it'll stick with him. And he's good enough physically to compete in the NFL. So, yeah, I like it as a fit. I think it would work really well.
I think that's the thing we can always guarantee with Kool-Aid, though, just breaking through walls. Nothing's going to stop the guy.
Excellent. We'll leave that there. Thanks again. Was that the Kool-Aid guy or Macho Man Randy Savage? I don't know. Anyway, Bucs 26 done. In the books. We go on at 27, back to Cy Carroll. So Cy Carroll from the touchdown at NFL Draft Cy. Again, we've plugged the guide several times. We'll plug it again. Go get the touchdown NFL Draft Guide. It's £3. Touchdown.co.uk. It is ace. Gives you everything you need to know about the 2024 NFL Draft. Cardinals, second pick at 27. Let's see who Cy takes after taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think we can get a clue by reading the guide.
At 4. Possibly. And we'll see.
I'm not sure I'm going to be able to read it in between these picks, though.
It's pretty quick. Let's get on to Cy at 27 for the Cardinals.
Hi guys, Cy here from the Touchdown, back again for the Cardinals' second pick in the first round of this mock draft. And at 27 overall, Arizona will be taking Chop Robinson, the edge rusher from Penn State. What to say about Chop, really? He is quietly flying under some people's radars really in this draft. He's very, very talented. He can play standing up or within a 3-point stance, so he's perfectly suited for this very versatile system that John Gannon's got going on down at in Arizona. I think perhaps the Cardinals would have preferred to have looked at cornerback here, but with all the first round worthy cornerbacks off the board at this stage, they'll settle on improving that edge rushing group, which is led by Zayvon Collins, who's also got a similar skill set to the one that Robinson possesses. As always, if you could check out the Touchdowns 2024 NFL Draft Guide before the big day, that'd be appreciated. And just enjoy your draft weekend. Thanks a lot.
So thanks to Cy there from the NFL Draft Touchdown Guide, picking Chop Robinson, edge out of Penn State for the Cardinals. I think that's a pretty solid pick, Joe. What do you reckon?
Yes, I think it's a pick the Cardinals probably have to make after taking, I think it was Marvin Harrison, obviously in our draft. Yeah. So you've got to go on defense just because that is a team which has got plenty of holes. And yeah, looking at the ball, he's probably the best defensive player left there.
Yeah.
Looks a solid edge. Looks like he's going to get production. I think there's some weaknesses to his games, but obviously when you're picking this low down the first round, it's not going to be a home run. So they've got to work on him and hopefully, he improves and he shows that productivity. But yeah, it's a pick what Cardinals have to make. You have to be on defense, and they've got so much need, so you just go best available. So
yeah, and I think kind of the best available outside of edge, like you say, best defensive player still on the board, I'm pretty sure, but like a wide receiver would be a bit rich after Marvin Harrison. A line might be their best position outside a quarterback, I think, on their team. So it's like there is still some nice little line prospects available, but I would absolutely go Chop Robinson here as well. I think you get a good edge set. I think they would have loved to see one of them D tackles fall, maybe Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy. I don't think they've fallen this far, but I think you just take the best edge player that's there, stick him right in as a day one starter, and yeah, real solid. I think if you're a Cardinals fan, it's been a rough couple of years, but I think this first round you'd take away pretty happy with Marvin Harrison and Chop Robinson.
Yeah, definitely. And I just had to have a quick look at the depth because I was like, who have they even got on the edge, to be honest?
Yeah.
And like most teams, you need at least two good to quality edge rushers. So yeah, they've got go with that. It's one of the premium positions, at this stage of it's up in the air if it's going to be one of the quality ones, but you've got to go for it. And I think the Cardinals made the right choice.
Yeah, I was just looking at the depth myself as well. It's like LJ Collier, Justin Jones. I mean, you're crying out for some talent in that room. Yeah, certainly. Cool, yeah. So that's us for the Cardinals pick. Again, thanks to Cy for making that pick there from NFL Draft. And coming up for the Bills pick, we've got Matt from the UK Bills coming up next.
Hi, this is Matt from the UK Bills. You can find us at UK_Bills. You can follow our podcast, Red, White, and Buffalo Blues, at RWBB Podcast. For this mock draft, with the 28th pick, the Buffalo Bills select A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver out of Texas. I mean, this was more of a group choice more than anything. I mean, we were left down to two. Leggett and Mitchell. I think it was too early for Leggett. Mitchell is the pick. Obviously, he's got decent speed, decent height. He's a great route runner. Just needs to be a bit more dominant at the point of attack and hopefully be a bit more consistent, a bit more yak and rack, rather than a hit and miss, hot and cold, if you will. In an ideal world, I think the Bills would actually trade this pick, whether up or down. But nonetheless, AD Mitchell is the pick for the Bills, or the UK Bills, for the Buffalo Bills at pick 28. Let's go, Bills.
Cheers to Matt from the UK Bills there for their pick of Adonai Mitchell out of Texas, wide receiver. I think this is one of the most obvious position team matchups in the entire draft, right, Joe?
Yeah, they had to go wide receiver just with everything gone on, because I don't think we may have not touched on about with Diggs getting traded away to the Texans. So yeah, and obviously losing Gabe Davis as well. You've lost your top 2 wide receivers. So yeah, you've got to go for it there. You've got to get wide receiver, and it's just picking your choice of who you want. I think there's quite a few to choose from. So I don't mind it. So yeah, he's a long and limber kind of wide receiver who's going to win that way. But yeah, there is a worry about his against physical defenders, and when you look at the AFC East, especially the Patriots and the Jets cornerbacks. We'll see if he can hold up, because I think he's going to get chucked straight in there. He's got to hopefully produce, straight away, and they're hoping for, like a Brandon Ayuk, Jefferson, who gets picked this late compared to like a Quinton Johnson, who got picked last year, who was a big wide receiver but didn't produce it, and he was in a team with 2 solid wide receivers, so they were.
He could come along a little slowly. But...
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say the Chargers could hide him, but the Chargers couldn't hide anyone. It was great. So can the Bills do that with only Shakir and Samuel and Curtis Samuel? So yeah, they needed a big wide receiver. It could work out, but yeah, it's just how he plays and where the Bills go with this. Yeah, they had to go wide receiver, and then it's just choosing who you like the best of the remaining ones.
Yeah, I think Mitchell's probably got about the most upside. And there's one name I think still on the board as of now, Xavier Worthy, who also is out at Texas. I think they're both might be the ultimate boom bust potential wide receivers here. The one thing that kind of stands out to me on Adonai Mitchell's tape, and it's been commented on a lot, is he just, when he's not going to be getting the ball, he just doesn't seem to do anything. He doesn't fake a route. He just, no, okay, I know I'm not getting the ball on this. It's going to the first read. I'm just not going to do anything. And I don't know how that'll take in the NFL. Maybe his work habits will pick up in the NFL. Maybe, Brian McDermott will drill that into him. I'm sure they won't be satisfied if that is his attitude. But he has got it, I think he could end up being, one of the top 3 receivers in this class if he hits. But, he's picking at 28. You can't expect to have Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors. It's just, yeah, the upside's huge. I think this is the right pick for them to take. I think there's a big downside as well if his attitude isn't up to it. And there was a report out today of his teams might be struggling with his. It's a new one to me. His diabetes, and I know Mark Andrews famously has diabetes and manages it during games. You see him getting his glucose packets or whatever he needs to keep his levels right. But apparently, Adonai Mitchell will have attitude swings when his blood sugar gets too low or too high, which I know happens in real life. My stepdad had diabetes and. He would suffer with it when he'd been out. If he got exerted himself and then didn't keep his blood sugars high, his attitude would change a lot. And yeah, I wonder how much that has played into Adonai Mitchell's slacking off here and there. We'll have better people around him, I think, medically to keep on top of that. But just a very interesting note I seen came out today about Mitchell that I'd never thought of for a draft prospect. But yeah, anyway, I think the kind of shot the Bills need to take, like you say, got Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. Justin Short is listed as a starter right now on our lads, which surprised me. Yeah, it's kind of shot they need to take, and thanks, Matt, for making it.
I was just going to say as well that I think it's worked for the Bills because the top 4 wide receivers were going to go before the Bills pick. And there's usually around the lower 20s. There's normally for the last few years, a run of 3 or 4 wide receivers go, and you have to trade up and all that. So if it works like that, it's perfect that they've been able to stay where they are, and get the 5th best wide receiver, which I don't think they'll get any higher up without trading up to early teens. So so I think it's worked out perfect for them, and what they needed. So
grand, our next one is playing the roles of Brad Holmes, one of our favourite GMs. Got Matthew Turner from the Roar of the Lions. Making the pick, for the Lions coming up next.
Hi, I'm Matthew Turner, host of Roar of the Lions UK podcast, here for the Detroit Lions at pick number 29. And at pick number 29, the Lions are going to select wide receiver out of Georgia, Lad McConkey. Now, McConkey is 5'11 and a half, 186, exceptionally quick. Even though he doesn't look necessarily like it compared to some of the bigger receivers in this class, like Brian Thomas Jr., but he ran a 4.39 in the 40-yard dash and a 1.52 10-yard split. Elite shuttle and 3-cone, though. 3.97 diffing under that 4 seconds in the shuttle and a 6.72 3-cone. This guy is an absolutely elite mover. He had most of the top DBs on toast in the last couple of years in this college cycle. He has fantastic footwork. He's able to give the head fakes and all that sort of stuff. He's a very polished wide receiver. And with Josh Reynolds leaving the Lions, there is a hole for a receiver just like this. Now, a lot of people want us to go X-style wide receiver, a bit bigger, bit longer. The quickness is obviously here with Ladd. Although the thing is with Jared Goff is he likes his guys to be separation guys. And at this sort of stage of the draft, I think Ladd is the best person to do just that. He has had a fantastic career at Georgia, although he's had some injuries in the past year just gone. And I think this is the pick that teams are going to fear the Detroit Lions making, most of all with the players remaining on the board. Bit about the Royal Lions UK podcast and website, biggest Lions podcast this side of the pond, actually going to the draft in Detroit. So looking forward to seeing these picks being made in person. Cheers for doing this. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks to Matthew Turner from the Roar of the Lions, picking for the Lions, and it's one for the lads. Lad McConkey, wide receiver out of Georgia. Joe, what do you reckon to Lad McConkey going 29?
Been holding on to that joke for waiting for Lad to get picked. Yeah, I think it's a bit of a luxury pick for the Lions, where I don't know if they 100% need a wide receiver out of everything. You know, I still worry about that defense, and I know they've made some additions, but I think the style of play they have, you always need more defense, especially on the back end. And you could certainly have looked there on a few D tackles on the ball. But you've got the next best wide receiver. I think he's perfect for Jared Goff. He's what I've read about him and seen. He's like the quarterback friendly kind of wide receiver, which Goff certainly likes. He's got that speed. He's a great polished route runner. Yeah, I think it's a great pick. I don't think he's going to be, an atypical wide receiver coming out, so they're going to chuck him in the slot all the time. I think he's going to play it all around. Maybe he's not got the physical attributions which you would like, and I don't know if he'll grow anymore. But I think, like I said, it's a luxury pick. The Lions, if they do choose, they're going all in on this offense because there'll have plenty of riches, and if Williams progresses anymore in his second or third year, can't remember what even year is.
Third year, yeah.
Third year. So if he progresses, then you've got, you're building that wide receiver room where you've got plenty of options. So I can't fault it. I may have gone the defensive side just because how the Lions have been and some of the injuries they've had, and obviously with Sutton also being released as well, where you're playing catch up on that. But it's a luxury pick where they put themselves in that position where they can be another strong contender in the NFC.
Yeah, totally agree. And I mean, to be fair, I'm saying that Jameson Williams is third year. His first year, I think he missed all but the last 2 games with his ACL. Then his second year, he missed the first 4 games, I think it ended up being, with the betting suspension. And by the end of the last season, he was really coming on. I mean, he was great against your Niners in the playoff game. He's never going to take Amon-Ra's role of getting all the targets, but he's a real weapon, certainly. And McConkey, again, he's quick as a whip. He's 4.39, I think, 40. He's got an interesting analytical profile where, a lot of these fantasy people who do the stats research more than I do, like to see yards per team pass attempt, in which McConkey doesn't do too well because Georgia have such strong options. But in yards per route run, I think he's the best receiver in the class, certainly the top couple of round players anyway. So it's interesting to see what you're going to get from him. I think it's a great pick. I think he's a great compliment to JMO and Amon-Ra. Might take away some of Amon-Ra's incredible target loads of the last few years, but that's absolutely fine. And that offense, like you said, they're loading up. I mean, you've got Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery still, Sam Laporta, tight end. They're going to be tough to slow down. And Jared Goff maybe a sneaky fantasy quarterback next year. But yeah, I kind of just love, like you said, it's a luxury pick. I think the defensive picks have kind of dried up at this point. And I think I ideally, I'd rather see a cornerback get drafted here, but I think it has been a bit of a drop-off since Kool-Aid got drafted by the Bucks a few picks ago. So, yeah, no problem at all with me. I'm going wide receiver. And I think, maybe Worthy, I think, has high upside, but I think there's a bit too much crossover with Jameson Williams there. I think Lad McConkey just come in and be a bit of a do-it-all. Even, if he sticks to the slot initially, I think there's a place to expand that role as he goes as well. So, yeah, I think Detroit fans will be happy if this is what they actually take come draft night. Cool. Well, thanks again to Matthew Turner, Royal Lions there, and we'll move on to our buddies at Utter Punts. Danny's going to make the Ravens pick at 31.
Hi, Dan here from the Utter Punts podcast, here to make the pick for the Baltimore Ravens at number 30. Bit surprised at some of the picks so far. I do think the Ravens might end up with different players here, but the way this has fallen out, with the Bengals choosing Talise Fuaga at number 18, I think there's a better offensive lineman in the draft. And with the loss of Kevin Zeitler and Morgan Moses this year, the Ravens do need some strength there. I do think in normal terms, I think the Ravens will take a player on the defense offensive line later in the draft and use their coaching to upskill these players. But the way this draft has fallen, we will take Taylor Guyton, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma, 6'8", 322 pounds, runs the cone drill fast, 7.5 seconds I think, can play both sides of the line. He's the sort of raw talent the Ravens thrive on. So with the 30th pick, the Ravens take Taylor Guyton, defensive tackle, Oklahoma.
Thanks again to Dan from Utter Punts there. Pick 30, not 31, for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know how to read an Excel sheet. So Dan does, though, thankfully, and he knows how to make a draft pick. We're going with Tyler Guyton, OT out of Oklahoma. Feels like, again, a real position of need for the Ravens with the losses they've had in the offseason. Joe, what do you think of Tyler Guyton to the Ravens?
Yeah, I think, like you said, they've lost quite a few on that offensive line, just with, trading Morgan Moses, Zeitler, Simpson, and a few others. It feels like they've lost a lot of players in every position. It feels like a weird season where the Ravens have lost quite a lot and not been able to gain it because you've had one of them seasons where you've had a great year and people want your players. So I can understand it. I think this feels like more like a prospect pick. I don't think he's going to make much. I don't know if he'll play that much next year. The number of starts he had in college, and it's such a big step up. So this is like one for the future. And you look at the actual line when you can learn from someone like Ronnie Stanley from left tackle. So I think it's definitely a prospect. He's got the ability to be a top quality defensive tackle, and he can play left and right. It looks like he prefers the right tackle, but it's not a bad situation to be in. I think the Ravens have just got to be patient with him, and it's one of them like picks where it's what smart teams do when they look to the future. But it also feels like, how big is this window for the Ravens as well? So do you want to get an impact player straight away?
Yeah.
Or is it about the future? And that's what they've just got to decide on. But, usually the best teams choose for the future. And if you can get a starting offensive tackle now all the way down to a pick 30, then, you're laughing in the years to come. So,
and there is some veteran or tackle still out there as well come post-draft. And it seems like a classic Ravens thing. Once that compensatory pick window closes, bring in some veterans. They've done it. They seem to do it every single year, truthfully. You get your rookie to develop, sitting behind an old guy for a year. And, Guyton, like you said, big project, but big is kind of the big word there. I mean, 6'7", 330. Incredible vertical number. I think it's 34.5 in the top percentile you can ask for at that position. The traits are all there. Like you said, if it takes a year to learn, could be a year's time when we go, fucking Ravens did it again. Because it's what they always do. It feels like.
Yeah, it feels like a Ravens kind of guy. It just feels like one of them, like, and to be honest, when I was looking down the list we've made, there's a few players who were like, oh, they're just going to turn into a great player. You know what I mean? It's just like the Ravens kind of how they draft all the time. They can't pick wide receivers, well, except last year, but they can pick every other position. So, if history repeats itself, then, like I said, you'll be super happy getting an offensive tackle at pick 30 to start the next 10 years if he works out.
Absolutely, yeah. And thanks to Dan for that pick. Picking up next for your 49ers. Do you have an inclination of who you would take here, Joe, just before we get Paul's pick?
I know what position I would go for. You'd either have to go cornerback or the offensive line. personally. Obviously, if things happen with Brandon Ayuk, you might have to go wide receiver. But they'll be the two positions I would be looking at.
Grant, well, let's see what Paul takes. Anyway, Paul Hope picking for the Niners at 31. Actually, 31.
Hi there, good teams win, great teams cover. Paul Hope, 49er Faithful UK. You can check us out by searching 49er Faithful UK on all social media platforms. We have a weekly live show on YouTube, and during the season we have regular podcasts. If you would like more information, please hit up 49er Faithful UK. Now back to business, everybody. I'm delighted to tell you that with the 31st pick in the NFL 2024 mock draft, your San Francisco 49ers select Amaris Mims, offensive tackle, Georgia. The reason for my pick is I went best player available at a position of need. I looked at what the other teams had taken around us and what players were left on my big board. Mims is a talented prospect with exciting NFL traits. He plays with a pretty good technique. In my eyes, he's ahead of the game with his hand placement, and he also has the size and bend to create the movement and make blocks on the move. He's had experience at playing on the defensive line, and that versatility may come in useful for the 49ers. I'm Paul Hope, 49er Faithful UK. Bang, bang, Niner gang.
And thank you there, Paul, from the 49er Faithful UK. And as you thought, Joe, going to be OT or O-line or cornerback, and is Amarius Mims or tackle, Georgia. You happy? You'd be happy with this on draft night?
Yeah, definitely. Just looking at his player profile again, he's another player who hasn't played the most amount of games, and he's been mainly through injuries, but just the size of him and the impact he could have. Super happy. It's how the 49ers build their squad. It always feels like they always got one star player at, like, obviously again, Trent Williams, but then they just like forget about the rest of the line. So it's the same with the cornerbacks as well. They trade like to get one, but they just think, oh, we'll figure it out. And then they only do figure it out. But I think picking at 31, looking at the players available, I think he's probably the best available player. Like I said, there's one or two quarterbacks that you think you mentioned to pick before where it could be a bit rich, but I also wouldn't mind it. But yeah, getting him, massive offensive tackle. If he puts the work in, you get to train with the best left tackle in the last 10 to 15 years, arguably.
Yeah.
And yes, certainly a Hall of Famer. So he gets to show then. Again, he's another prospect too. He could be left or right tackle, which is always handy. It looks like he's set in pass protection, which the Niners have not always been great at right tackle, with Mike Blanchard before and Colt McKenzie now. I think he needs to improve in his run game, which is a bit of a worry when 49ers is all about the run game. So he still needs to improve that to start next year. But again, it could be one of them picks where he might not be straight in. It could be a year or two down the line. But if he turns into what his where his prediction could come in, then you set at right tackle, and then again it's looking for the other side, and that's what the best teams do, just keep replacing. So yeah, very happy with this pick.
Yeah, he's one of my favourite prospects in the entire class, I must say. Like, you just watch him, and like for 6'7", again, he's about 350, I think, and 340 is listed as. He's so nimble. Like, he just looks like he's going to be like an all-pro tackle. I know, again, there's projection there because he's only a one-year starter. Played right tackle. I think he can play both. I think this is just a real home run hit at 31. Annoyingly, because Niners don't need any more help, but they are getting big help again, it feels like. If I was a Niners fan, I'd be delighted if he falls to 31 and they pick him up here. Might be a slow year one, developmental year one, but I think, like you say, 5-year contract. Yeah, I think it's just a really, really, really smart, solid pick by the Niners from Paul for the 49er Faithful UK there. And that's us about to wrap up. We have our 32nd pick coming in. Picking for the Chiefs, got Tom Kraft making pick for the Kansas City. So yeah, let's head over to you. Tom's taking the last pick of the draft.
Tom Kraft here, co-host of the Play Action podcast, as well as a co-host for Hurdle the Line on the Asleep at Work network. I'm picking number 32 for the Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover draft. And for number 32, the Chiefs, I believe, are going to select Xavier Worthy, the wide receiver out of Texas. The guy is 5'11", similar
kind of build to Tyreek Hill, has that game-breaking speed, which he showed at the Combine, running the fastest 40-yard dash in Combine history now. Very quick, deep threat. In terms of intermediate routes, he's excellent at that with his getting out of his breaks, explosive route running, able to catch the ball well. And I think he could be a great piece to this Chiefs offense for Patrick Mahomes and for Andy Reid to scheme up some things for him. So obviously I know he's a little undersized, but, I think the best offense he can land with is the Chiefs. And, that's who the Chiefs are going to pick, I think.
And thanks to Tom from the Play Action podcast there. Xavier Worthy, the final pick of the first round from wide receiver out of Texas. Fast, speedy. Patrick Mahomes' new best friend out of Texas. What are we thinking, Joe?
Yeah, I worry with players who do well at Combine, especially like the 40-yard that, he breaks a record, he gets all this hype, he goes all big, all that kind of stuff. And then is he actually an NFL player? I think he's got the ability. Obviously, we always say, speed kills and all that kind of thing. But has he got the physique? Has he got, I think he's got some issues with his hands. And it's funny because I was just looking at his comp, and I think a lot of people said he's a taller Marquise Brown. And you go into a team who's already got Marquise Brown. So is it the kind of player they need? They've probably got to go wide receiver now because who knows what's going to happen with Rice. And then you're in a position where, you're going into the year with Marquise Brown, Justin Watson as your top two wide receivers. If Rice, gets suspended, who knows what happened with Tony. So again, another player who's got speed to burn. So, but hasn't really worked outside. Yeah, I do agree. I think he's not like he's way off. Where it's like, oh my god, this is a terrible pick. But there's 4 or 5 wide receivers you could have gone for, and do you just go for it because he had that great combine, and it just brings that that press, that that bump just because of that. So it's the Chiefs. So he'll probably catch if I do nothing this season, catch 6 touchdowns in the Super Bowl, and then we're praising the Chiefs again, and suddenly they're looking for a wide receiver. But yeah, I think
it does feel very on brand though, like you say. It's Marquise Brown. It feels almost like a bit of a copycat of. And Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, like these small, fast, nimble wide receivers. It just feels like such a type for them.
Who can't catch? I have problems with catching.
Worthy is 5'11", 165. Marquise Brown is listed at 5'9". I thought he was a little taller than that, I must say, but he's 166. And it's interesting what that offense will be next season. We don't know what will happen with Rashee Rice, but it's just going to be Travis Kelce underneath and everyone else go long. I wouldn't want to defend it, I must say. If you've got Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy doing wind sprints up the field and Travis Kelce getting 200 targets when no one's covering him, maybe. I figured, like you, it had to be a wide receiver here for the Chiefs. They do have some issues they could do with addressing, but Rashee Rice's legal issues have pushed that right to the top. I think they took McCall Hardman in the second round that year when Tyreek Hill was potentially facing legal issues. I don't think anything actually came of it legally for Hill, but there was certainly some strong rumours, and it pushed it up to the top of the board. You'd hope Xavier Worthy has more to his game than McCall Hardman. I don't think he's a John Ross. I don't think he's just a pure speed and nothing else. But there's certainly some part of his game that need work to be a success at the next level. And 165 pounds. I know it's not the NFL of 20 years ago or even longer ago. Tank Dell was 165 and a huge success last year, but it's not a guarantee. It's still a worry, I think, to be that slight, even in today's NFL. Standing up to that workload, standing up to press coverage. If you get open, he's going to be incredible. Just that consistency and that getting open might be the issue. And that is 32 fan picks, fans on the clock. It's been quite a blast, I think, here. So thanks to our final person there again, Tom Kraft from the Play Action Podcast. It's been a labour of love putting it all together. I mean, Paul's done most of the work on it, to be fair. We just talk about the players, thankfully for me. Paul, you want to wrap us up and see what we've, closed out here?
Yeah, it's certainly been a task. One of those great ideas to start with. I think the end result really good. I think I'm really, I think I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think we'll be really pleased with what we've pulled together. Kind of 4 hours of content, kind of off the back of it, split across 2 episodes, getting 30 people involved. And just apologies, we did have all good intentions of getting the Panthers involved and the Texans involved and the Browns involved, even though they didn't have first round picks, but just because of the way it worked out and the amount of time it took us to put it all together just meant we couldn't. So it's not that we forgot about you. We still very much want you involved and would like you to obviously be a part of good teams and great teams covering the future. Keg and Graham, the Celtic Texan in particular. But yeah, just I think it's been a very worthwhile exercise putting this all together. And I think it's turned out really well. Appreciate everyone getting involved and contributing, because it's taking a lot out of people's personal time. I've had people record videos while they're on holiday, while they're at work, while they're in their work vans, all kinds of different stuff. So yeah, you really, really appreciate it. That wraps up our first ever Fans on the Clock draft here at Good Teams and Great Teams cover. It may or may not be back next year. We'll see. That teases up for our next episode, where we'll have a look at the draft from a betting perspective. So that'll be our last draft preview episode, and that'll air early next week before the draft on Thursday. So you can kind of get our first bets of the new league year, I guess, on the draft. And then we'll be live on draft night. We're going to go head to head with McAfee and Belichick. So we'll see how we'll see those ratings when they come in, to see if we could be the juggernaut that is McAfee and his guest Belichick on draft.
I think we do have to say, none of the people on that podcast or this podcast were able to be hired by the Carolina Panthers. So we are kind of even Stevens there.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. Starting off on a level footing.
Yeah. He might have a few more rings than us, but he's just as employable as we are in the NFL.
Yeah, very true.
In 2024.
We'll still have the ESPN backing us. Maybe one day, who knows?
Not yet. Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
It's coming. So once again, thanks to everyone. As always, go give us a follow at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover over on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, give us a follow, Good Teams and Great Teams Cover on Spotify, and you'll be notified when new episodes drop. So until next week, when we're back with our live betting preview, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers.